In today's video, I review Meghan Livingstone's opinions and claims on healing the gut. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow this stuff.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before I jump into the video, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO organic acid stool tests and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video.
Hello everyone out there, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. If you're new here, I'm a certified holistic nutritionist.
Okay, great, a good start. For once we are reviewing someone with an education in nutrition.
And for those of you who have been following me for a while, you may know that I have had IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, and this was a result of an infection that I had in my gut many years ago, C. difficile, Clostridium difficile. So this resulted in post-infectious IBS for me. I had a lot of problems after this infection. Over the years, I've dealt with a lot of symptoms and flare-ups and food sensitivities.
Okay, it's always good to see when anyone has had health problems and end up in a practicing healthcare role. I always think that if you're a doctor, dietitian or nutritionist and have experience with poor health, then you are far better equipped to get into the mindset of the patients that you are helping. Now, you obviously don't need to have been ill to be a good doctor, dietitian or nutritionist, but I certainly believe it enables you to empathise on a much greater level with your patients. And kudos to Meghan for getting through a C. diff infection. It can be absolutely brutal. So for those of you who don't know, C. difficile is basically a bacterial infection that can infect your bowel and cause many different debilitating gut issues such as chronic diarrhea, and in some infections it can be life-threatening. Typically it is treated with either a strong course of antibiotics, which sounds counterintuitive when it is likely antibiotics caused it in the first place, or when antibiotics fail, many people have a fecal transplant.
But you bet I've done some major gut healing and a lot of work on supporting and improving the health of my digestive system over the years.
So with the type of issues that Meghan had, it can often be a long and debilitating process in getting back to optimal health. So with Meghan's nutritional background, I'm looking forward to what advice that she gives in terms of how you can heal the gut after significant gut traumas.
It's really important that if you have any major concerns, that you work one-on-one with a practitioner, whether that be a functional medicine practitioner or a naturopathic doctor, and you kind of rule things out that way. It's really important that you do that. I can't stress that enough. But in this video, I'm just going to kind of go over the basics. These steps are rooted in functional medicine to restore the health and function of the gut.
Yes, that is really great advice, and that you want to work with a suitably qualified healthcare professional when dealing with any gut or health issues. The very worst thing that you can do is to try and self-diagnose or self-treat, as often this can make things considerably worse if you don't know what you are doing.
So the first step in helping to heal and kind of repair the function of our gut is to remove. And you want to remove three really important things. You want to remove food triggers, so individual food sensitivities, allergies or intolerances, major ones being gluten and dairy. Elimination diets can also definitely come in handy.
Yes, absolutely agree. If you want to heal the gut, one of the first things that you want to do is to remove any antagonists from the gut that are causing your issues. So for example, if you have histamine intolerance, it is often necessary to remove histamine-rich foods from your diet so that your gut gets a break from the constant trauma. So as Meghan has alluded to, some of the main trigger foods and compounds are gluten and dairy. Some of the other common ones are soy, oxalates, salicylates, histamine, sulfur, alcohol, processed refined sugars, and also processed refined foods that contain additives and preservatives. So establish with your healthcare practitioner what foods and compounds are causing or exacerbating your issues, and then you would remove them from your diet for a period of time, heal the gut using a number of different strategies, and then return them to your diet once you have resolved your issues.
And then of course you also need to remove any existing infections or pathogens. This may not be necessary for everyone, but if there is indeed any sort of bacterial overgrowth or infection or parasite or candida, this needs to be removed so that the remaining steps of gut healing can really take place effectively. This is definitely something that I suggest that you work closely with a practitioner who can actually help you to determine if there are existing infections through stool samples, blood work, symptomatology as well. There's a number of ways to eradicate those sorts of things through either antibiotic therapy if necessary, or antimicrobial therapy as well can definitely be really useful. So there's a number of different herbs that can be taken in therapeutic doses that help to eradicate these infections.
So while I agree with all the points there that Meghan made, I have a different opinion on the stage that you remove infections, and let me explain why. So Meghan is suggesting that you want to remove the infection early on in the treatment process. So you want to remove the triggering foods and then you remove the infection. In my experience, removing the infection this early on in the treatment can often make things much worse for the patient. So let me give you a quick analogy, and this is one that I always give to my SIBO patients. So if you remember back to being a child and falling off your bike and grazing your knee, if your parents were anything like mine, they would come running at you with antiseptic to clean out the cut. Now you know what it's like if you put antiseptic into a cut, it stings to high heaven. And you need to think about SIBO and other gut infections in a similar way. So if you go straight in aggressively with antimicrobials or antibiotics, it's the equivalent of throwing antiseptic into a cut. And by doing this, it can often make all of the SIBO symptoms much worse. So what I typically do is support digestion using a number of different supplements, reduce the inflammation in the gut, and then when some of the symptoms have reduced in intensity, then you can aggressively go in after the infection with antimicrobials or antibiotics. You have to remember that many patients have been dealing with gut issues for many years, and they are extremely sensitive to foods and supplements. Going straight in with antibiotics or antimicrobials is the equivalent of throwing in a hand grenade, and it's often the last thing a patient needs this early on in the treatment.
The second step is to replace. So this is where you want to replace your digestive system with factors that may be lacking or insufficient. So for example, if there's low stomach acid, or if digestive organs like your pancreas or liver or gallbladder are not working efficiently or working effectively, then there are a number of different nutraceuticals and herbs and things that can help to just stimulate those organs and stimulate their processes. And I'm quite a huge proponent of a couple of these things. I love digestive bitters. I've taken digestive enzymes over the years. There's a number of different things that can be taken to really help to replace your gut with those factors that it needs to function optimally. That's the whole point of this step here.
So yes, I agree with all of this here. You have to imagine your digestion as a house of cards. So if you pull out a card, or your stomach acid, for example, then everything else around this will come crashing down. So everything in the gut is interconnected. So if your stomach acid isn't low enough, then it won't trigger the release of pancreatic enzymes or bile. So in the short term, supplement use can act as a catalyst to get everything moving in the right direction. But again, don't just randomly throw supplements as a problem unless you know what you are doing, as often this can make things worse. So work with a healthcare practitioner and test where necessary.
Step number 3 is to re-inoculate. So it's a fancy word that really just means to reintroduce. And in this case, reintroducing bacteria. This is key. So reintroducing really good quality therapeutic levels sometimes of probiotic bacteria into the gut is essential during the healing phase of your gut, because the health of your microbiome, so the bacteria that live in and on your body, is key. And if there are ever any disruptions to that delicate balance, that's when we start to see a lot of problems like IBS and digestive symptoms and immune problems and inflammation, like the list goes on, mood disorders. So we really want to make sure that we are really starting to supply the body and the gut with that good friendly bacteria to bring that balance back to the appropriate levels. So this is done through good quality probiotic supplementation and through probiotic rich foods.
So again, I agree with all of that. I would just add a couple of points here. So if you are dealing with certain gut issues such as histamine intolerance or SIBO infections, then probiotics or probiotic-rich foods can often make things much worse. So many need to support digestion first, reduce inflammation in the gut, get rid of the infection, and then incorporate probiotic-rich foods at a later date. Also, I think that probiotics for a high proportion of people are a complete and utter waste of time and also money. Most probiotics on the shelf are poor quality, and after 6 months on the shelf, the supplements often contain significantly less bacteria than claimed on the bottle. Then if you add into the mix that your stomach acid will wipe out a high proportion of the remaining bacteria in the probiotic, so you can quickly see that if you're spending money on probiotics, it's often pointless. On the other hand, fermented foods contain trillions and not billions of bacteria, and they are also live bacteria. So yes, the stomach acid will obviously kill off some of the bacteria, but because of the sheer numbers of bacteria, many will find their way into the colon. So save your money and use fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi and kefir, and your gut will really thank you for it.
Step number 4 is to repair. So this is the kind of phase where now you really want to delve deeper into repairing the gut, and you do this through therapeutic kinds of foods and nutraceuticals. So anti-inflammatory foods, things like turmeric or fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids are really important here, as well as a number of other nutrients that can be really, really helpful, like zinc, like there's quite a few of them. Mucilaginous herbs, so really soothing herbs that help with mucous membranes like slippery elm to rebuild the tissues in the gut.
So yes, I agree with almost everything that was stated there. The only other thing that I would mention is the importance of knowing what you are dealing with. Throwing turmeric into the gut with histamine issues or oxalate problems, for example, will make things worse. So don't just throw random supplements or anti-inflammatories into the gut unless you know what you are doing or your practitioner has advised you to do so.
And lastly, step number 5 is to rebalance. So this is where you want to start to implement new lifestyle habits that are going to help to encourage the overall health of your gut long term and to prevent any issues from reoccurring again. So these are things like ways to manage and reduce stress. This is key. Getting better sleep, doing things that make you happy, and just incorporating all different kinds of lifestyle habits and even dietary habits that support the health of your body.
Very well said. I can't believe how many healthcare practitioners underestimate the impact that stress will have on the body. Reducing your stress levels is on par with optimizing your diet when looking to address your health issues. So absolutely do more of the things that you enjoy. So listening to music, yoga, sailing, running, whatever it takes to bring down your stress levels.
So those are the 5 steps to healing the gut if you're in a really bad place and you're really needing to improve your digestive health.
So yes, some great advice so far from Meghan, but I have a question for you. How long does it take to heal the gut?
And this really depends. That answer can be super annoying sometimes, but depending on how severe your issues are, what exactly you're even dealing with, if there are infections, it can take several months. Sometimes it can take a year or more of being really careful with these steps and following them properly and adhering to any protocol that you have been given. It can take time. I mean, it could definitely be less for some people.
Again, I agree with what Meghan is saying here. So for some severe gut issues, it can often take many months to resolve these type of problems. But I would say that in my experience, a high proportion of normal gut issues such as SIBO can generally be resolved in 2 to 3 months. And if things are taking significantly longer than this, then it's probably that you are doing something wrong. So all in all, some really good advice there from Meghan, and I'm so glad that she's doing so much better after that C. diff infection. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.